This is exciting because this is the first time in 3 years that we've done this in person. So thank you for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're here to highlight some of the most amazing social media, free open access emergency medicine, things that are out there. These are, we're going to be talking about blogs, podcasts, apps, or really any FOAMed product. So here's what we're going to do. Before we get started, I'm really honored because we've got 3 amazing judges. I know them all personally and love them all, but I have to read their bios because they're so amazing. So we're going to start with Dr. Seth Truger on this side. He is an emergency physician at Northwestern in Chicago. He's the former social media editor at Annals of EM and currently serves as the digital media editor for JAMA Network Open. He's well known on Twitter, and I'm betting you already do, but if not, please follow him on @MDAware. Dr. Lauren Westphal, sitting right next to him, is an emergency physician at UMass Bay State. He's here from Massachusetts. And she directs the EM Research Fellowship there. I know you already follow her and download all the Foamcast episodes, but if you don't, you should. They're amazing. And it's listed as an emergency medicine podcast, but everybody knows what Foamcast is. And she serves as a social media and research methodology editor at Annals of EM. You already follow her as well on Twitter, but she is L. Westphal. Finally, we have Dr. Alap Shah. Thank you for organizing this, by the way, who is another rockstar emergency physician at MUSC, where he directs the Ultrasound Fellowship. He represents the SAEM Virtual Presence Committee and is also the editor-in-chief at HoloCitySona.com and EmergencyUltrasoundTeaching.com. If you don't follow him already, you should at AlapMD. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to start first with Dr. Jonathan Warren, who's going to talk about art in emergency medicine. But let me first explain the way this is going to work. At the end of these sessions, at the end of all the sessions, each session, you're going to get some feedback from the judges. At the end of all 4 of the sessions, the judges are going to give you the winner from their viewpoint, and we're going to get your input, the people who are physically present here, in a live Google poll, and that's going to be combined to give you the winner for today. But that's just half of it. But wait, there's more. There's actually going to be the opportunity for a second winner, what are we calling it again?
Crowd favorite.
The crowd favorite, but the crowd is actually going to be worldwide, and it's going to be dependent on the number of tweets and likes of the tweet around each topic. So we're going to have 2 winners. One, chosen by the people in the room here today, and second, a second winner in a week, the crowd favorite, chosen by who gets the most tweets, likes, retweets. All right? So we'll go ahead and get started. Did I miss anything a lot? All right, perfect. So let me first introduce Dr. Jonathan Warren. He is an EM resident at Harbor UCLA. He founded and is co-editor of Art in Emergency Medicine, a blog dedicated at showcasing the art, talents, and experiences of emergency physicians. He hopes that by sharing artwork, personal stories, and showcasing implementable changes to your daily life, his work helps to inspire and support the well-being of emergency professionals around the world. Wow. Jonathan, it's all yours.
Just 2 microphones. Sorry. All right, apologies for those delays there. I'm Jonathan Warren. I'm here to talk about Art of Emergency Medicine. It is an online art blog and wellness intervention that I developed as a 4th-year medical student and have been extremely excited to see grow over the last 2 years. And to start off with, there's no disclosures. And I want to start by asking everyone in the room here a very important question. And really it's, when was the last time that you were passionate about your hobbies? And while I have your attention for the next 6 or so minutes, I really want you to think about this question, how it applies to your sense of wellness, your current stress levels, and kind of how you care for yourself on a daily basis. Because from what I've seen, at least in the last 2 years within the specialty, and what I've seen as a medical student as well, is so often as emergency physicians, I find that we are weighed down and encumbered by multiple different institutional and administrative tasks that really leave us less time for our own wellness. Tasks like making sure you're up to date on all of your note writing, making sure you're meeting your metrics, any administrative tasks that physicians have in hospitals. And more, it is more focused on spending time on those tasks and less time caring for ourselves. And so I'm hoping to talk with you all about what my website is doing to try to address this. And I'm going to be using some of the photos and quotes from the website to help me do it. And so to start, just from the nature of our work, emergency medicine physicians are at extreme high risk for burnout, and this is something that we've only seen exacerbated and worsened in the last 2 years with the pandemic. There's been a recent meta-analysis that has shown that emergency medicine physicians specifically are some of the top scorers for burnout, specifically in both emotional exhaustion and depersonalization based on the Maslach burnout inventory, and other studies showing that at any given time, 40% of emergency medicine physicians are experiencing some form of burnout or are unwell. And we're not just note writers, we're not just amazing physicians with clinical acumen, we're human beings, and there's a different side to all of us as well. And something that I've had the honor of seeing in the last 2 years was the amazing artwork and additional aspects of physicians within the specialty, people who are creating amazing works of crochet, painting, taking photography, creating music, doing spoken word. And it really, I enjoy seeing that they are using these to better themselves and recompose themselves and taking time to focus on all of the emotional stress that they've been experiencing. And it really reminds me of a quote from Martin Seligman when he was writing Authentic Happiness, that while there's many factors that impact our happiness that are outside of our control, up to 40% is within our control, and these emergency physicians I've seen are taking control of it. And some people might be wondering, how exactly can art help with wellness? And really what it is art provides a way to make physical those emotions that you may not necessarily have words for. It allows you to create positivity when previously there was negativity. And more than all of this, it creates a quiet, safe space for meditation and reflection. Also, many people might know this as mindfulness, an acquired skill so that you can work to process complex emotions, stresses, these aspects that contribute to burnout, and instead of having a chronic festering wound, allow you to actually let it recover. And this isn't necessarily a new idea either with my website. We've been seeing this in multiple other specialties as well. There's been studies with oncologists and with palliative care physicians where they have done art therapy courses and they've seen reductions and improvements in scores specifically focused towards emotional exhaustion and towards depersonalization. They've even shown other studies where even one single session of art therapy reduces tension, anger, fatigue, and other common symptoms of burnout in the physicians who practice it. And we've been seeing a greater push for this among the governing bodies of different medical institutions. We've been seeing at national conferences at hospitals, they create art galleries curated by nurses, doctors, physicians to show the humanitarian side of all of these physicians and really to encourage them to embrace this side. And that's really where Art of Emergency Medicine comes in. Sorry, a video should be playing, but I guess it is not. There we go. That's where Art of Emergency Medicine comes in and what we're looking to do. We want to encourage physicians to pursue their hobbies, their passions, their talents so that they can continue to make themselves well. And specifically what we do is that we release a monthly curated blog of different art pieces from physicians throughout the specialty along with their stories of wellness so that others may be inspired. And while I think this is amazing, I didn't think it was going far enough to really support the wellness within our specialty. And so what we do as well is we also, with every monthly issue, release evidence-based summaries focusing on a variety of topics, from the complex topics of second victim syndrome and imposter syndrome to even more simple topics such as how important it is to stay hydrated on your shift. And we try to create summaries that are easy to remember and can be implemented specifically on shifts or within people's practices to improve their wellness. And this is what we've been seeing, and it's been amazing to see so far. as the website has grown over the last 33 volumes that we've had thousands of unique visitors every month to the website when the releases happen, and we've had hundreds of physicians submit photos from across 7 different countries in the world right now. And it's just absolutely amazing to see their artwork, how their art is inspiring their wellness, and really, I think what is most personal for me and what I love to see is that I see the website actually encouraging others to pursue their talents more. We've had multiple physicians who have submitted a piece, have been encouraged when it's been included in a volume, and have come back to submit new pieces in later months. And it's been wonderful to see, and I don't think we're necessarily done there yet. Things I want to do to continue to grow the site after this, because there's always room to grow and there's always ways to better, is the implementation of wellness flashcards. I would love to see our monthly summaries created into specific infographics, such as one here that we have on imposter syndrome, and kind of explaining who your imposter is so that you can give a language to that and start to address it, so that physicians can download them, keep them on their phones, or print them out and have them ready to go on a daily shift to either use for themselves or teach their residents with. And beyond this, I would love to start doing resident and hospital system associated volumes where we're getting artwork specifically from one area, and we can start to highlight those wellness interventions that they are doing in their specific residency in their specific hospital. Because really it's going to be this greater knowledge of sharing these interventions amongst everyone, so that we can make the entire specialty better as a whole than just single areas. And with that, I want to thank everyone for your time. This is finally one of my photos, and it's one of the favorite photos that I've taken. I want to give a special thanks to all of the physicians who I included their photos and quotes here on the side. This is the Twitter and the Instagram handle. I hope you visit. I hope you enjoyed, and I want to thank you all for this opportunity.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Dr. Westerfer.
Yeah, that's impressive. Looking at that, I realize how not talented I am.
Nonsense.
Looking through the Instagram feed and the blog site, I mean, it's professional level stuff, which is fascinating because I think that, for people to have multiple professions, I think it's an interesting way to highlight them and to highlight how important it is to give time to those other things. I think it's really neat. I was having trouble finding those summaries. Your last slide showed one of those wellness things. Are those on?
We haven't come out with them yet.
Gotcha.
We're just starting to develop them so we can release them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was looking for that because I'd like to tie it all together because I was like, wow, this is incredible. But I think that will be a really great addition to really integrate that and perhaps even align with residency programs or something like that to kind of encourage them to facilitate that amongst their residents. It's great.
It's Dr. Truger.
Yep. That's fantastic. I mean, I don't need to tell anyone here that wellness and burnout are a very relevant and a hot topic in emergency medicine and medicine in general. I had a few minutes before I was early here and wandered into a room and it was a wellness panel. Also, one of the first things I thought was literally this week, one of my residents reached out to me saying she had some art, she was looking for a place to publish. I was like, oh, this is great. And then I happened to catch the second you scroll past her, which I think speaks to the reach. I think this is great. I think comparing with the evidence-based summaries, I think there are people more cynical than me who that'll definitely help with legitimizing a lot. And also actionable things people can take back to their institutions, to their colleagues, to get more people involved and help them. So fantastic work.
Thank you.
Dr. Shah.
Yeah, I agree. This is the first time I've seen something like this for our profession, and I just love it so much, especially after the last couple of years that we've all had. I think it's so important to have that. I think the really nice thing, and you said this stuff is all professional quality when you go on the website. I mean, I'm not an artist by any means, but to feel like those people have a place where they can put their work and feel like it's valued. And who knows what this is going to become. You can see their stuff in print maybe, they can see it, send it to their friends and family. It just shows that I'm like a whole person and it's not just this one-dimensional, I'm an emergency physician. I think that's so important. One question I had for you is, you have all these great people that you've kind of collected as part of this project. Is there any way to or plan to connect them with each other?
I think that would be amazing to do. It would be wonderful. I have talked with, I started this with 2 other physicians who have kind of been helping mentor me through the entire social media space and everything like that. And I think it would be wonderful once we have the bandwidth on the website to start to develop like an actual community posting where we can have comments on the different volumes and have people start to submit and have actual discussions about these pieces, the feelings they're going through, or the stories behind them. I think it would be a wonderful idea and something definitely to implement in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Nice work, Dr. Warren. Let's
Thank
have a
you.
round of applause for Dr. Warren. All right, next we have Dr. Blake Briggs and EM Board Bomb's Airway Supremacy. Come on up and I'll let you pull things up while I introduce you. Absolutely. So Dr. Briggs has been involved in spreading knowledge specific to the practice of emergency medicine since the start of his career. He has published review books to prepare medical students for Step 1, as well as co-founded emboardbombs.com. His website increases accessibility to up-to-date core content information relevant to the practice of EM, as well, as you might expect, to boards preparation. Dr. Briggs, it's all yours.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, good morning. Thank you all for coming. I'm Blake Briggs, as Dr. Asia just said, and I am one of the co-founders, co-hosts of EM Board Bombs. And hopefully some of you have heard of EM Board Bombs now. I've been around for 4 years, and I like to pace when I talk, but unfortunately I'm going to disrupt this. I don't have a clicker, so I'm confined to this one spot. But I want to talk about the airway supremacy. Oh, yes, I'm free. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to stand over here then. So I would be remiss to talk about EM Board Bomb's website, what we are overall. We started off 2018 as a board prep podcast, and our dream was to fill a niche that wasn't available at the time, and that is board prep in 5-10-minute podcast episodes that are free, that are available everywhere. And we've morphed into this multi-platform learning foam content. We do offer premium stuff now for premium subscribers, but in general, we're still very much producing free content for everyone that goes to our website. And again, we have podcasts that are available and downloadable on pretty much every podcast player. If you have an iPhone, you're good to go. If you have an Android, you're one of those people. And you have podcast player on that phone too. So we have over thousands of downloads now for the past 4 years. And specifically, we also have these handouts too. And the handouts are great. They're 2 pages long. They're PDF downloads. They're available on the website too. And they're obviously referenced in everything. We use peer-reviewed resources and all that. And our website in general has had over 60,000 visitors just in 1 year alone, last year. Each year we have 20,000 visitors additionally, and we're on track to hit like 80 or 90 this year. So it's been fantastic, but that's not why I'm here today. We're talking about the airway module, the airway supremacy module. And this is the GIF or image that came to me when I made this. And the whole thought behind it was to make a module that reflected the military term air supremacy. So air supremacy is a military term where one side has complete control of the skies and the enemy can't run any interference at all or effective intervention. And our thought, we haven't trademarked this yet, so don't get any ideas, but EM Board Bombs came up with the airway supremacy term, which is the physician has complete control of the airway and disease can't run any interference over the physician or the patient. And our thought was to make a beautiful, visually pleasing module for learning about RSI specifically. And our thought was that we studied multiple different modules on the internet. We thought, this is great, asynchronous learning, that's awesome, but we noticed 2 things that came up, or at least I did when I was coming up with this idea. And one of those was the relatability, the real-life relatability. When you're doing these modules online, we were just talking about this before the session about clicking through things all the time, of like 3 times speed, or at least for me, may or may not do this on the health stream modules, is timing your clicks to every 3 seconds when the next click is available, because you just don't want to do it. And you just want to get it done and be done with it. Well, this is one of those things that you don't want to just click through. You actually want to get something out of it, right? And so to make that more relatable, to have real-life images, real-life pictures, something that you can see, that you've seen in the emergency room. And then the other option is interactability, the ability to sit there, click through it, and know that I'm actually clicking through and I'm not just reading this white page, I'm getting bored with it. And that was our thought. And so just to take you through the module here, there's a pre-test, and the pre-test, there's a post-test as well, we collected stats on this, and what I did was actually integrated Google survey embedded in our website. And so obviously that doesn't collect any data, we don't collect emails or anything, all we did was just collected numbers from the quiz, and then it'll be the same questions at the post quiz as well. And as we go through here, there's table contents here, and I'm just showing pieces of it. But we go through a relevant anatomy section, quizzing. There's drop-down boxes where people are going to click on this and get their answers to what we just tested them on or what objects you need to see. What we did was actually in the relevant anatomy section, we had a video that was 10 seconds long, which is the average time in general to intubate someone, get it needy. And we thought, can you identify all these structures in 10 seconds? Because you need to know quickly when you're looking. Do I have a quick view? What am I looking at? What am I getting? And so we wanted to make sure that we would be able to test that in a real life scenario. Where I got all these videos and where I got all these pictures, these are from real cases. And when I was a resident at Wake Forest Baptist, we had the Carl Storrs laryngoscopy, and we had gladoscope too. What we did was that I noticed that no one ever removed the SIM card for the life of that laryngoscopy. And it's like 10 years old. I took it out and looked at it, and there were some very frightening airways on that little SIM card. So obviously we de-identified everything. You couldn't tell anything other than just the person being intubated. We took those videos and we made that integrated in this module. And you'll see here in a minute, there's drop-down tabs. We talk about a little bit of the text behind why do you do RSI, what are the basics here. These are for interns, obviously med students, beginners into intubation. We talk about the tools of the tray. We talk about the objects you'd be using, direct as well as video. And the way this is nice is that it just lays it all out in simple to read text and telling you this is exactly what the name of this thing is, what's better, C-blade or C-Mac blade or gladoscope, or they're both the same. And this is where we get to the winning part of this module here. These are real life videos, again, of airways, and you just don't get things like that on your average airway module. The second part of this is that this is a great simulation of real life. We take you through every 5-second step of actually what you're doing in intubation, down to what you do with the tongue sweep, putting the blade into the mouth, putting the tube in, knowing the tube placement, showing the correct angle, holding your blade as well for director video. And from there, we take it to the skies in terms of different examples. I'm sorry, the video was cutting on the presenter. We have difficult traumatic airways, bleeding airways, angioedema, D-blade placement if you're using a specific type of blade, gladoscope, using a bougie as well. And finally, we get to the ultimate fright moment, fright house, which are pediatric intubations. This is that's a failed intubation, but there's a lot of these pediatric intubations during CPR, traumatic peds intubations. These are all real cases. And I had pediatric emergency medicine physicians actually review this as well and provide their own tips. Right here on the website below each of these videos, there's timesheets as well. And the timesheets are actively within the video saying, here's what happened. This person probably should have done this at this point. Or should have suctioned here, should have probably backed out and switched to a bougie, that kind of thing. So it's going through the timesheet and telling you what specific portions are. We actually study this already. So we have good studies, and there's actually I have an abstract pending on this. But what we did was when we collected the data, we noticed that people were obviously doing a lot better after the quiz for knowledge acquisition. And in the future, we plan to incorporate knowledge retention as well as measuring skills at some point in the future. So the evidence is there. So I'm going to end with probably the coolest part of this PowerPoint. So thank you all for listening, which is this trailer I made for the airway module. And if it doesn't get you hyped, you're just going to walk out of this room and want to look for a gladoscope to intubate. So yeah, just doing it right now.
Just watch me now. Just watch me now. I got something for you, a little more for you. You won't believe your eyes. Just watch me now. Just watch me now. I got something for you, a little more for you. You won't believe your eyes. Just watch me now. Just watch me now. Just watch me now.
Hopefully you all want to pick up an extra shift now. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Briggs. All right, let's go to Dr. Truger.
All right, thanks. That's fascinating. I'm an airway nerd, and I love all this stuff. I think the focus that you're doing both trying to get a topic that people are interested in. Everyone loves airway stuff, or a lot of people love airway stuff. It's clinically relevant, and it's important for the boards for us. And kind of that Venn diagram thing, all those missions is great. As you mentioned, doing really engaging modules that you have to work through, as opposed to just clicking through and actually getting information is fantastic. The media is superb there. I'm a little concerned about how some of them might hold up over time. I was like the glyco module you have that is, not ancient, but older, is around when I was a resident, which I guess is older. Sure. Which is a challenge. I'm interested to see the knowledge retention you get. I think that's, a couple of the concerns I had, like the ethics of the patient stuff and the retention you kind of addressed as you went along, which is good. So I'd love to see where it goes. Great job.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and then Dr. Shaw.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really cool. The thing that really stuck out to me is the videos, especially. You mentioned this, but it's like, I don't think I've ever seen a collection of airway videos of people intubating under EM conditions, specifically. A lot of those cases were like CPR, soiled airway kind of stuff. And even for the airway nerds, when you go out there, and there's a lot of cool anesthesia stuff out there, but a lot of it's not relevant to us. It gets kind of convoluted, and it's nice. And the other thing that I really liked when I went on the website myself was that it gives you a lot of information, but it's neutral. Like, it's not subscribing to one airway school of thought or not, which is something that you find a lot out there. So I thought it did a really nice job for trainees.
Dr. West.
Yeah, I thought the media was fantastic. And I was reminded recently, I was looking back on something and found a blog from when I was a med student that I did on RSI. And I put up a tweet that I had learned from Seth, who's sitting next to me, who was a couple years ahead of me. And I had found little bits of media and put it all together. This it's sort of a flashback because it takes that and is what somebody with AV skills can do. So a tremendous effort. I like sort of that there is an active component where you have to click on things to reveal. I think that there are, if you're super tech savvy, ways to sort of increase that along the lines, like choose the select one, and then rather than just feeding that information to somebody, I think it's really great, and there's so much opportunity there to advance it even further. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Greg. Let's have one more round of applause for Dr. All right, and next we're going to have Dr. Pierce and ultrasound box. And why don't you come on up, Dr. Pierce? Are you Dr. Pierce? Yes. Awesome. Come on up, and if you don't mind, load up your stuff, and I will do your awesome introduction.
Sure, thank you.
Dr. Pierce has combined his technological expertise and commitment to education in his projects aiming to improve delivery and accessibility of information. He has previously contributed to app development for the MGH ACLS iOS app, which is near and dear to my heart, so thank you, and has recently founded Ultrasound Box, a website aimed at bringing case-based, practical emergency ultrasound education to the masses. Dr. Pierce, it's all you.
Thank you. Where can I get the clicker?
Oh, here. Here.
All right. And then,
If you want to, don't want my
I'll take it. Hi, so I'm Leland. I'm an ultrasound fellow at Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York. And I have to say I'm very honored to be speaking up here about my creation, Ultrasound Box, especially alongside so many amazing innovators, creators, and leaders in our community. I have no disclosures, and I first want to talk about why I created the resource in this short period I have to talk, and then about the resource itself. So we have a problem in ultrasound education, particularly in undergraduate medical education. Apologize if you heard me rant about this. This is my motto. In that we're in agreement on the benefits and importance of it, yet in 2022, based on a survey published recently, most institutions, in fact, under 10% have a longitudinal curriculum, and over 90% of institutions identified that the barriers to this are not having enough resources. So I thought in the beginning of my fellowship year that the way to address this would be a full med resource. They deliver high-quality education in a resource-efficient manner if done right. So with that in mind, these are some of the initial sketches I had, and you can see I envisioned some sort of tool where the user would be able to ultrasound, I'm not sure how to do the be able to put an ultrasound, some sort of model patient, and then get a corresponding set of images that then they had to integrate into their clinical decision-making process, similar to how we do at the bedside. Now, obviously, with many iterations in between that, we launched less than 2 months ago to the world. Now, this is a live URL, ultrasoundbox.com, where we have sets of cases among all of the core content areas we expect of EM residents. And here's an example of one of the cardiac cases. So you can see it's true to what I initially envisioned. You're able to click on the different circles on the model patient, and then the corresponding ultrasound image plays as if you had ultrasounded there. We're given a patient scenario, many times of which they're from actual cases, and the user is expected to create an interpretation. In this case, hopefully they recognize that in this young female with lupus, that there's an effusion with associated tamponade physiology. And then after that, we ask them clinical questions related to the case where they have to integrate it all together. Again, the same as we do at the bedside to try to get the same learning. And so here we ask, if this patient goes into arrest, what should be the next step? And hopefully they recognize that this person who had tamponade physiology is an indication for an emergent bedside pericardiocentesis. Some of the initial iterations I created were a free-form kind of text for entering the interpretation, but I realized that most of the time, even at the attending level, when people perform ultrasounds, they're answering the same binary questions each and every time. And you can see for cardiac, that's, is there an effusion? What is the systolic function? And if I can create a tool that allows the learner to be able to confidently answer those same questions, I realize I'll have created a tool that allows the clinician to be able to use ultrasound in their practice and be the best clinician they can be. And that's how it eventually became this. And you can imagine for the gallbladder case, it's the same questions each time. Is there stones? Is there wall thickening? To create then their interpretation and then how to integrate it clinically. This is just to showcase that obviously this is usable mobilely. This is how people use these kind of resources now, and that we have a large plethora of real cases whereas users have to contribute their case and then to go through kind of a peer review process, which we then publish. It's all free and online, and anybody can take part in the creation of the content. So I created the resource. I then set out to see, does it actually work? Does it actually teach extra ultrasound? And I assessed this by doing an RCT. I enrolled all the medical students at my institution who were going through the EM rotation. We added it on top of the existing EM rotation without any other changes. And half of them were randomized to using ultrasound box, and the other half were randomized to using widely available online content, actually the AEUS narrated lecture series. We asked them to use it on a volunteer basis, and after a month, I gave them both the same exam before and after, and you could see those who use ultrasound box got over a letter grade better. And what's particularly interesting is they really love this resource. They said some of the feedback was this already falls in line with how they learn on their own time, and they were easily able to integrate it into their learning schedule. And most notably, going back to the purpose of why I created it, we were able to do so with no additional resources, no additional faculty time. All they had to do was say, please use ultrasound box on a voluntary basis, and we were able to show they got a lot of extra ultrasound knowledge, and that they all agreed that this is a good learning tool and would recommend it to their colleagues. We then took all of this feedback and then launched to the world, and this is some of the testimonials we got. And to see this one on the right here is in Spanish, which leads me to my next point. The reception from the global community has been amazing. The darker areas kind of represent where we're having more users coming from, and believe it or not, on any given day, we're having more users from Central, South America, from Europe, and I've had lots of people reach out to me for collaborations and ideas how to create curriculums based off of this. We've had, I think, 4,000 users the first month, and then 6,000 the month after that, and their interactivity rates and the duration they're spending on the site indicates they're not only come to check a case out, but they're also staying and going through the cases, and each time we upload a new one, I get a lot of feedback and interest that, okay, that was awesome, I learned so much from it, and so this has been an awesome experience. I also want to emphasize the collaborative nature of the platform. So it takes time and effort to share your case for everyone else to be able to learn from, and I wanted to kind of innovate on how a traditional publication does this, in that I want to try to give as much credit possible back to the person who put the time in creating the case. So this is a sample case where you could see I'm the author, I wrote the case, and the person who peer reviewed it is Nu Nguyen Lee, and the line editor who formatted it to get it ready for publication is Carrie Walsh. And if I click Carrie's name, I'm able to clearly see who she is, should she choose to associate a picture with it, which she has, in addition to links to her personal and professional social media, such that better than, I would say, a case report, not only do more people see it, but I'm able to very clearly see who she is, what she's about, and give her as much credit as possible for putting the effort in to create this kind of thing. The last thing I want to leave you with is where we're going next. It's true to my vision, I want to try to gamify the whole experience and get as close as possible to putting the probe in your hand. And how I'm doing that is, you'll see with this DBT model, is it's going to be fully interactable, and rather than circles, you'll be able to put the probe anywhere you want. And if you get to the area, in the case of the DBT, where you need to compress, you'll actually be able to press down on the mouse to convey how much force there is to deform it, and they'll have to interpret if there's a DVT or not. And so this allows us not only how to teach them how to interpret ultrasound, but actually how to do ultrasound. I think there's a lot of exciting possibilities with this, and I also want to, of course, keep it free so that everyone has a chance to learn these things. Just to end, I want to give a huge shout out to the amazing and passionate people who helped me out on this journey, and I couldn't have done without them. We had Evie Kim, our developer, who responded day and night with any changes we needed, small or large. We had Andy and Matt, who helped me with all of the key decisions that naturally come up with a project of this scale. I had Ridima and Carrie, who helped me so much with the content, and Carrie, who spearheaded the social media aspect of this project and made sure that no one had to be exposed to my terrible grammar. And last but not least is Nunu and Lee, who peer-reviewed pretty much every case we had at launch, and I definitely couldn't have done without them. So I give a huge shout out and thanks to the people here and to the community at large for your support and reception. If you want to check us out, go to the QR code here.
Dr. Torres, that was amazing. First of all, let me apologize. I was pronouncing your name totally wrong earlier. Is it Torres?
It's not Intuital, it's Parisi, but
Parisi.
there's a whole story there.
Let's get some feedback from our judges. Dr. Shaw.
All right. So I'm the ultrasound guy up here, I guess. So I love this. This is great. I have so much trouble sometimes, like, especially what you said, undergraduate medical education sometimes can be a really tricky group to try and get them to get enough experience with pathology specifically. And so I think this is a really nice tool that you can use. And the fact that you're making it free and out there is amazing. I did have one question for you. I like the fact that you have that kind of graphic where you can have them put the probe on and have a little bit more variety in terms of what the options are, where they can put it. Have you thought about integrating like a VR, AR component? I mean, obviously there's like a really large tech startup cost to this, and everyone's talking about VR, it's so hot right now. But I feel like this is one area, and the way that you have it built would be very cool to see.
I mean, that's a great question, and that would be the end stage of what that vision is in terms of being able to put a probe in the learner's hand. That would be the best creation and iteration of my idea. Obviously, working on volunteer labor, I go one step at a time and try to do as much as we can. Always going to have those constraints, but that would be the dream. And if this is successful and I get enough support, then hopefully that would be the next step after that.
Dr. West.
This is amazing. I was clicking through, and I like that their next step level question. So it's not binary. What do you see? Is there a small bowel obstruction? It's really like interpret what you see and then apply it. And I liked that. I also really liked. I was like, well, what about where to put the probe? And then you answered that question. I'm sort of limited in other feedback, except for please keep this free. I think that a lot of foam sites become not foam, but looking at your global reach, I think this is hugely important, especially for low and middle income countries, and also for like attendings who maybe have been a long time since their ultrasound years and like maybe don't know how to interpret bowel or whatever. But I'm going to use this one. I usually tell my learners when they're like, you can use ultrasound for bowel, and I'm like, yes, go watch this video. But I'm going to refer them here as well. Only other feedback is I see a lot of it as intermediate, expert, beginner. Maybe consider putting those labels elsewhere because people may sort of like filter by that. And then like a random interpretation one where you don't get a category, but it's just a thought.
Point. Dr. Truger.
Yeah, you guys are stealing all my points. But, unlike Alba, I'm not an ultrasound guy, but I think the level of focus you have is exactly what I was taught at scrap to. I'm a big believer the level of ultrasound I learned in my residency is exactly right, and you hit it right on the nose. And the focus questions, these are the three things I'm looking for, is great. The media integration is, I'm incredibly impressed. Most professional pediatrists can't do this. I was looking at my phone here now, and I'm like, oh, it's just still, oh no, it's a video. Oh, it's amazing. Again, with RCT, I think it's fantastic, and I would love to see some retention data, some long-term follow-up would be fantastic, and you certainly publish it as well. We can talk about it later. And I think the other question, I was also thinking about, one of the big challenges for me with ultrasound as a supervising doc is if I'm not holding the probe, it's so hard to really get your bearings, especially if the images aren't perfect, and you got there, you're getting there with that, your next steps you're talking about. So it's fantastic. The level of fitness in the models making me self-conscious and it's hurting my wellness, but
There's a lot more abs.
yeah, really good one.
You know, I bought the 3D model off of, there's like websites that sell these, and I found it's used mostly in like workout supplements. So you might find the same model out there on those kind of sites. It's kind of funny.
Let's have one more long round of applause for Dr. Brady. Nice job.
Thank you.
Go back to 5. So I can see your team. All right, just gotta get this proper. All right.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, nice work. All right, and last but not least, we have Dr. Smith. Dr. Ben Smith, I'll let you come on up and pull it up while I introduce you. He is going to be talking about core ultrasound. Ben Smith is a veteran educator. Being a former engineer, he has funneled his mastery of all things software and tech into incredible educational products. He has been involved in FOAMed since its early days with his blog Ultrasound of the Week, and currently with the ubiquitous resource coreultrasound.com. Dr. Smith, it's all yours. And if you'd like to use the mic and the pointer, we have those as well.
All right. Let's see if I can get this to pull up.
No problem. While you're pulling that up, I'll just explain. Right after Dr. Smith is done, we're going to have our judges tell us each of their winners. And that is going to factor into the decision. We'll also put up a, Dr. Shaw, live Google poll
That's right.
on the screen for all of you to go to and vote on as well. And then in a matter of minutes, we should be able to announce the winner for today, as well as open things up to Twitter votes for the next week as well. Is that right, Dr. Haywood? Perfect. And is the Google poll going to have like a QR code or a web page?
We'll have a QR code up
You'll have a QR code up there. All right, so have your QR code readers ready to go right after Dr. Smith.
All right, sorry, just a little hiccup here. Let's see if I can get this to work.
Sounds good. At the end, by the way, I know you guys are all going to do a reveal. Seth, we'll start with you and just sort of move down, if that's okay, after we give feedback to Dr. Smith with the big reveal. This also gives me time to put out their pictures, just in case you're wondering what they look like without their masks.
There's one of you too, you know.
I know.
I'm gonna use this one.
Yeah, I could just hide behind him.
Be right here.
We can mix up around, guys. There you go.
Just, it's not recognizing HDMI there. All right, I think I'm going to maybe have a USB drive we can put on there. Yeah, I can try that. See what happens.
In the meantime, of course, can they go to coreultrasound.com on their phones to start looking at it? Yeah. We'll get it hooked up in the next couple of seconds. In the meantime, feel free to go to coreultrasound.com and cruise around. Start on the USB drive.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
Well, let's get set up. I'll tell you real quick, there's going to be a Twitter vote. Dr. Roger mentioned that. Those tweets are already up on the SAEM online page. So go to SAEM online. We're going to have our live vote. We're going to have our judges vote, but we also have the Twitter vote. All 4 contestants have their own unique tweet that is already up. You can find their unique tweet as sent out from the SAEM online page. The activity that tweet generates will determine the online winner. So you get points for retweeting, you get points for commenting, you get points for liking. So check out the SAEM online Twitter page. Their Twitters are tagged in it as well. All amazing educators, our judges, Dr. Raja, are all tagged on those as well. If you don't follow them on social media, follow them on social media. A lot of great content that they're putting out, a lot of great learning to be had with what they're putting out as well. So check out the SAEM online Twitter. It's SAEM online.
Are there differential points for retweets versus likes?
Yes. So a like gets 1 point. A retweet gets 3 points. And a comment, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Gets 5 points. 5 points. So
whoever your favorite is, comment, like, retweet, promote those tweets, and follow the SAEM online page, and follow, all these great physicians with these great projects that they have. So core ultrasound's color is blue, and so that's why Dr. Smith has so much blue up here. I'm just kidding. But definitely check out the tweets. You'll be voting in a minute. Have your phones ready to vote on the poll, and I have that pulled up, so as soon as that gets ready, we'll go live.
Now we got neither laptop working. I can start talking though.
Yeah,
All right. So I am Ben Smith, and I run a website called Core Ultrasound. This is an ultrasound website that sort of first started back in 2014 as sort of Ultrasound of the Week, and that was the blog that I started. Ultrasound of the Week is a website that I created, basically ultrasound-based case presentations with a little like kind of a board-style question that sort of brought the learner in, and then I had case-based interpretations with its evidence-based, reference and everything, and taught people how to, learn ultrasound better. And about that same time, about 2014, one of my residents came to me and said, I have a really good idea for an ultrasound blog as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like 5 to 10 minute videos of how to do specific ultrasound modalities. And it's going to just be sort of a rubber meets the road, just-in-time education approach. And that was the sort of beginning of 5-Minute Sauna. And I thought to myself, well, it sounds like an okay website. What if somebody comes out with 4-Minute Sauna? Anyway, so little did I realize that Jacob Avila, who was my resident at the time, would become widely popular from this website, much more impact than Ultrasound of the Week. A couple of years after Jacob started this website, 5-Minute Sauna, on the same sort of platform as Ultrasound of the Week, he was asked to join the Ultrasound podcast with Mike Mallon and Matt Dawson. It's kind of, Ultrasound podcast is kind of the prototypical FOAMed ultrasound website from way back when. And so it was very prestigious for him to be invited to join the Ultrasound podcast. About 2 years ago, we combined the Ultrasound podcast, the 5-Minute Sauna, and Ultrasound of the Week. And there's going to be a graphic. It's going to be Voltron into the Voltron website that is known as Core Ultrasound. All right, there's a cool graphic. Just imagine Voltron in your mind right now. So Core Ultrasound, I'm going to talk about Core Ultrasound and its impact in a couple different ways. Number one, I'm going to talk about Core Ultrasound when it comes to its international impact. And right now, just imagine a graph of Google Analytics, all right? So if you're going to publish in a journal, you've got the impact factor of that journal. You have, how many, are you the first author of that publication, and how many times has that article been cited? But for online blogs, we don't have that. We actually have something much more in depth. If you go to Google Analytics, it's a fantastic way to track how many people have been to your website. So if you look at sort of month to month, we've got between 25 and 30,000 visits a month to Core Ultrasound right now, mostly to the 5-Minute Sauna videos, although I think some to the Ultrasound of the Week videos, I'm going to say. And I think over the past year, we've had about 90,000, 280 individual unique visitors to the website, which is a pretty impressive number of actual unique visitors to the website. To drive home the point of the impact, we host our videos on Vimeo right now, and most of the content we have on Core Ultrasound are actually videos. So if you go to Vimeo, you can actually look at the analytics there as well. And if you look at 1 year time period, 280,000 views of videos over a 1 year time period, which is pretty impressive. And if you look at all the data, since we put all of our scans, all of our videos on Vimeo for the past 2 years, it's been about 5 years of continuous video watching has happened from Core Ultrasound's video content. So just on average, if you look at all of the data that we have on the website, all of the video, on average, 2 videos are being watched every second of every day for the past 2 years on Core Ultrasound. So that's the impact that we have. Let me talk about the resources. We've got resources for learners, we have resources for educators, and then we have resources that bring educators and learners together. First, for the learners, we've got Ultrasound podcasts. Ultrasound podcasts are 30 to 60-minute videos, a real deep dive into everything ultrasound. So they've got like 3 or 4 hour-long videos about right-sided echo. It's really pretty academic, and so that's sort of geared toward people who are ultrasound educators, Ultrasound podcast. Jacob has done 50 ultrasound podcasts, and there's like 180 that are archived on the website as well. The Ultrasound of the Weeks, we have over 100 Ultrasound of the Weeks now, If you know ultrasound, at least decently well, you can go on there to test your knowledge and to learn more. And then the 5-minute sauna, I can't really overstate the impact of the 5-minute sauna videos. They're used internationally to teach med students, residents, and attendings alike. It's a really impressive impact. And right now you're going to see a picture of me and my son scanning me. And I'm going to say the point of the website is that we want to make it so easy that even a 7-year-old could scan. And then I'm going to say, I know what you're thinking. Do I work out? No. All right, so moving on. Just imagine, all right, okay. So moving on. The impact, what we provide to educators. So for educators, we actually provide a lot of tools. If you click on the tools section on core ultrasound, this is kind of my baby. I'm an engineer by training, by education, a physician by training, and I have coded 6 different tools. There are apps for Mac and Windows. There are online web apps that help educators sort of proselytize ultrasound better, that make them better educators for ultrasound. One of them is one that de-identifies image. It's like a really big deal. It's not really like appreciated for people who are not in ultrasound, but when you export from a machine, that PHI is burned into an image. And so my app pulls that information off, strips out the metadata, and allows those images to be distributed. That's one of my apps. One of them called Pluck. You can pull out a really high quality still for publication in a journal with a very specific, like 300 DPI, or however that journal needs you to do it. I have several other tools on there as well. And the last thing I want to talk about is how we connect educators and learners. I created a tool on there called Sauna Clip Share, which is basically 10,000 lines of code. It is a free online open access PAC system that allows learners to go upload their scans and then share them with educators internationally. And right now we have global health programs that are training people in Peru, Uganda, and Rwanda out of several different academic shops in the United States to use ultrasound. So it has a fairly significant impact globally. So far, 500,000 scans have been uploaded to that website. And the last thing I was going to leave you with is one thing that makes our website unique is that if you look in my second floor of my house, I've got a very cluttered room with a bunch of kids' toys. And in that room, there are 2 computer towers, 2 servers that I built. I maintain the server software, and I did a lot of the coding. And these are the servers that host core ultrasound. They host Sauna Clip Share, and they also happen to host Critical Care Now, which is Hani Malamat's website. And so we have sort of an end-to-end education process. And really, you may ask yourself, how do we do this? Just sort of 2 people, me and Jacob Avila. And I can sort of sum it up in one word: strategery. Just kidding. Actually, it's 2 words. It's 2 words. Jacob Avila. If you've met Jacob Avila, he is an insane educator and has an unbelievable work ethic. And so he is what sort of drives this sort of forward. So in this last statement, it's kind of meta. Essentially what we're doing is we're taking electrons from my house and we're putting ultrasound education and knowledge in people's brains. That's all I got for you guys.
Love it. Thanks,
There were
Smith.
slides.
That's okay. Nice work. Nice work. And way to adjust on the fly. What we're going to do is actually, if you don't mind sending us a video of your talk,
Yeah.
we'll put it on there so that everybody can see it on the tweet. All right, we'll go briefly to the judges. At the same time, Dr. Haywood's going to open it up, going to hold up a QR code that if you can scan it with your QR code readers, you can vote right now. Hopefully that's big enough as well, but Dr. Haywood can sort of move around as well. Dr. Truger, who's your choice?
Are we doing a final vote?
Oh yeah, you're flipping it over. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead and flip your sheet over.
First of all, that was really great. You did a great job,
Yeah, it's tough to get feedback when you don't have the PowerPoint, but you're right. Actually, Dr. Westford, do you have any feedback before?
So I've been sending people to 5 minutes, so no core ultrasound for years. That's how I teach my learners just in time.
Yeah.
I would say that the kind of full spectrum of what you're covering from learner, hour-long didactics, 5 minutes just in time, resources for educators, pushing out to the world is just expanding the space. I love the minimalist blue slide. Great job.
Perfect. And Dr. Shah?
Well, oh man, I have so much to owe to these guys and all the work that they've done.
Yes.
So I'm just humbled to be down here with you guys. But I mean, it continues to be an amazing product, and thank you so much.
Yeah, Dr. Smith, really, it takes a real master to get up here and present without the slides, so well done. All right, judges, Dr. Truger first.
All right.
Art of Emergency Medicine. All All right. Dr. Westifer? Ooh, ultrasound box. Okay, it's not going to be unanimous. And Dr. Shaw, Art of Emergency Medicine. All right. So here's what that means is that right now, Art of Emergency Medicine is a 2 out of 3 for the judges. Does anybody not have the QR code pulled up? Okay. We should have votes pretty soon, Dr. Haywood?
It looks like the winner is going to be Dr. Blake Briggs with the board bombs.
Oh, EM board bombs comes from behind. Wow. Okay. Dr. Shaw, is EM board bombs the winner then?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
What was the judge's vote? My apologies.
It was Art of Emergency Medicine.
Okay, so it
2 out of 3.
is,
Oh, you're calculating the percentages.
Art of EM was a close second. Was it 2 to 1?
It was a 2 to 1. Actually, it was a 2 to 0.
So 66%.
Yeah, 66% here.
I don't think that the live vote's going to be enough to push EM board bombs.
Okay, all right. EM board bombs clearly won the live vote, but with 2 out of 3 going to Art of Emergency Medicine, we're going to go with Art of Emergency Medicine as the winner. Nice work. Congratulations. Don't forget to get your friends to like and retweet for the crowd favorite. Thank you all for being here. We wish you a good rest of your day.